What's up guys, it's Z here, welcome back. Today we're going to have a discussion about the set that's coming out really soon, and Lightning Overdrive is a set that can shake up the meta. It can give us a lot more decks that we can see in the top tier, and I think this format has been really good, to be honest. We have a lot of variety, we have a lot of road decks that can potentially top, and they are topping as we've seen from events, and I think there are 3 to 4 more decks that Lightning Overdrive can actually make tier 2 or tier 1 potential decks, and I think a set that can bring that much more to the table is a really good set. So before we begin with the video, if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and now let's get to the video. So the first card I want to talk about, I think, is the most impactful card out of this set, the card that we've seen that in the OCG it turned everything upside down, and the card I'm talking about is the Link True Try Brigade, the Solid Assault. So this card is insane. This card is the reason Try Brigade has become the absolute best deck in the OCG. We've seen a lot of pie charts that in so many weeks Try Brigade has consistently been the best deck by far, with the numbers being completely different from the second and third best decks. And the reason is that this card can actually add the trap card that lets you special summon all your monsters back from your grave and banish and summon a Shuraig right away. And not only is this disruption, it also gives you all of the effects of the monsters like Kit, like Nerval. You get all of the pluses, and it's just such a consistent deck. People have started playing Mystic Mine in the main deck and the side deck, and they only have one copy of Mystic Mine there, but still they're all playing it regardless of what deck they're playing, with one terraforming, so they can actually counter, because Mystic Mine is a really good counter to Try Brigade. This deck is not a control deck, it's not a combo deck, it's something in the middle. It can do something from both worlds. It's a deck that does not spit its entire hand on the field, it's a deck that does not set 5 back and pass, it's a deck that outgrinds you. It's very similar to how Striker used to be. It doesn't seem overwhelming at first, but once it starts going through its advantage, then you just start realizing that there's absolutely nothing you can do against this deck. And this Link 2 is what makes this deck viable, because right now people are trying to play Bird Up. They're completely ignoring the fact that the trap exists, because it's not searchable right now. So even if people play it, it's just a card that you don't see too often, because it's just an unsearchable 3-off and people don't play Trap Trick to get to it. So they try to combine it with stuff like Luscinia, they try to combine it with stuff like Zodiac in order to become better, but this card will make the deck be a really good pure Try Brigade deck, and I think it's going to be the best version of Try Brigade without having to play another engine, because of such a card that actually locks you into Try Brigades. So it's not like you can use this, search the trap, and then go into something like a Trident, or then go to your Luscinia package for your Simorgh. That's not possible. You have to pick and choose if you want to keep playing it with other engines, but I'm pretty sure that people will start moving towards this type of deck, because it's such a good deck. And I think with a good ban list, this might actually become the best thing in the TCG as well, just like it has happened with the OCG. The second card, I don't know exactly how competitive this card is going to be. It seems really good on paper, but there are major weaknesses. But the card I'm talking about is Scrap Raptor. So this card, it doesn't only boost cards that use Scrap Recycler, it doesn't boost decks like Orcust or Machina, it also boosts dinosaurs, because this is a dinosaur card, and it's also a tuner, so Hulky Fibrex is also a candidate for being a very good combo part with this card. And this card is really good, but it's something that just boosts consistency for decks, doesn't raise the ceiling that much, and also makes it that so you play so many cards that you might lose to a single hand drop unless you have something like any kind of extender to go into your Scrap Wyvern. This card has a lot of potential. It's searchable through Fossil Dig because it's a dinosaur, so even if you just play this as something to make your Orcust deck more consistent, instead of playing 3 Scrap Recyclers, you actually play 9 Scrap Recyclers, so that's insane. Like, the chances of you opening it are now very high, because if you just play 3 like they used to, the deck was very inconsistent. This is why Orcust has completely vanished off the face of the earth, but with this card, maybe we can see it rise up again. Dinosaur is already a really good deck for the format. We've seen that it's probably a tier 1 deck, one of the top 4 decks of the format, because it's such a good deck going second, and can still make a decent board going first. So Scrap Raptor may actually boost dinosaurs even more, so we can see it become even better than Dragon Link, possibly. With a good ban list, it might actually happen, because if LP gets banned, then and Dinosaur doesn't get hit at all, and this card comes out, then the deck is going to be really good. So we can see a lot of changes in the meta, and because of the ban list is actually so close compared near to when this set is going to be released, it's going to be in less than a month after the set is released, we can see that Konami might choose to not hit so many decks, because hitting decks now when a new set like this is released that can bring out so many new archetypes and boost so many existing archetypes can actually make the game worse, because you actually decrease variety. Because if you leave the decks that are right now, we have a pretty healthy format, and you bring even more decks to the table, then we can see events that have so much variety. But if you hit stuff like Dragon Link and you completely take them off the board, that's one less deck. Maybe if they plan to hit something else, then they will just decrease variety by hitting stuff. And because of Scrap Raptor, if you're a Dino player and you're afraid that your Misk might get limited in the next ban list, then yeah, don't worry about it. It's not going to get limited. At least for one more ban list, you're going to be fine. Now, the next deck I'm going to talk about are about 2 cards from this set. So I'm going to hit on Drytron this time. And Drytron is probably the most, how should I say it? It got hit unfairly, because it wasn't even the best deck when it got butchered by the ban list, but not only did Benton get limited, but also Union Carrier got banned. So now it gets 2 cards. The first card is the Xyz monster, Fafnir. This card is insane. It's a Foolish Burial for the deck. It negates, and it negates spell and traps, and it also lets you detach materials from it to use for ritual fodder. So yeah, what's to say about this card? This card does everything for the deck. This card is so good for the deck that if the ban list had not hit Drytron and we were come to the point where this was released, then maybe it would have been a tier 0 format. Who knows? This card is that good, and it's not only this card that actually makes the deck much better, but also the card that a lot of people have been waiting for, and we didn't even know when it was going to get released, but Konami decided to import this in Lightning Overdrive, and that's Diviner of the Heralds. This card boosts any ritual archetype. This card makes up for Benton going to 1 for any deck that was playing Benton, but this card makes any ritual deck so much better. You send Herald of the Arclight from the extra deck to the grave, you get the search, and then you can tribute this card as being a level 6, maybe for anything, and then when she's tributed, you special summon a level 2 or lower fairy from your deck. You can get Eva. When Eva goes to the grave, you get more pluses, you can get anything you want. This card is by far the best normal summon you can have in a ritual deck, and it's also going to boost Drytron, of course, because it's a ritual deck. So with these 2 cards combined, Drytron might actually re-rise the meta. It might not be tier 1, because Drytron still has a lot of weaknesses, and with cards like Ghost Bell and Skullmeister being really good in the metagame right now, then maybe they're going to be able to counter Drytron too, because these cards are really good against Drytron, because all of their effects keep coming back from the grave. But alas, 2 cards, 4 more for Drytron, a deck that completely vanished off the metagame because of a ban list. Maybe now it has a chance to come back, because you know that decks like this that used to be a meta deck that just got destroyed by a ban list, they only need like 1 or 2 cards to be good again. It has happened so many times before in the past, so I'm pretty sure that it can happen again. And Drytron is such a good deck that it doesn't take much for it to be good, because you have so many ways to play the deck, you have so many ritual engines you can choose from in order to go first, go second, you can lock your opponent with vanities, you can go second with Necros cards, you can pretty much do whatever you want, because it's an engine. It's not exactly a deck, it's mostly an engine that can use anything. And it also can utilize Dragoon, so if Dragoon doesn't get banned in the next ban list, which it might, but it might not, it's not something to get banned just because it's too good, it's something to get banned because it's too generic. And Konami has done it in the past. They have banned generic engines that were not super high tier, but they were just being splashed in a lot of things, so they don't really like that, so they ended up banning them regardless. That may happen with Dragoon as well, but if it doesn't happen, Drytron is one of those decks that can use Dragoon very, very easily, because you can get 2 monsters on the field with Drytrons very easily, and summoning Anaconda and Dragoon do not contradict with Drytron's Disriction, because you don't special summon something that can be normal summoned. Anything from the extra deck you can special summon, so that's another piece of interaction right there. So it has the tools to be good again. We'll just have to wait and see if these 2 cards can actually make the deck really good again. And the last thing I want to talk about is a deck that I think has pretty much the same road path as Prank Kids did. If you remember Prank Kids, they used to be a decent deck, but it wasn't until Meow Meow got released that gave them 1-card combos that it was a really good deck. It had won a YCS before, but it was just because people did not really know how to play against the deck, and after that the deck did not do pretty much anything. But now it's a tier 1 deck again. And why? Because it has 1-card combos with Meow Meow. So I'm talking about Adignisters. I think Adignisters with this set have the potential to become exactly the same thing that Prank Kids have become. So let's talk about their 2 cards that are most important. So the first one is Dark Infant Antagonist. This card is basically a meow meow for the deck. It's a 1-card combo. So if you open a Tsitsi, or if you search it with a lot of cards, you have the card I'm going to show you next. You have your Signet Mining to search it. You can search your field spell, which is something that deck lacked a lot because you had to summon your Picari in order to search your field spell. But now you have a Link 1, like most of Rain's deck had, like with Bailings, like with Sea Angel. You had so many Link 1s that could search the field spell for their respective archetype, like Striker Dragon 2. So it was only a matter of time before Antagonist got 1-2. So now that they can do that, they can pretty much 1-card combo. And the deck has access to a lot of cards. Even though you get locked into Cyber's monsters have monsters that are good going first and going second. Dark Fluid is a really good card that you can pass on in order to have a lot of negates. It's not the best card, it's not the best board, but this deck, it does not thrive going first, it thrives going second. With cards like Wind Pegasus and Light Dragon, it can clear boards right away, and it also has access code in case something goes wrong, and then you can just link everything away for an access code, and you have so many attributes that you can destroy your opponent's entire board just with access code. And the deck has so many good cards. It has Revival, it has Surge, it has really good top decks. A lot of cards are counted as top decks, so the recovery of the deck is also really high. The problem right now is that it doesn't have the consistency to get to any of its pieces by just using one card. But this Link monster fixes all of that by searching the field spell, so you don't even have to play 3 copies of field spell anymore in terraforming, which you definitely did before, but now you can just play 2 copies of field spell, no terraforming, you have even more space for other cards. So yeah, this card is absolutely insane, and also has an effect that helps your Dark Templar. So when you special summon this under your Templar, you can move it away from its zones, so Templar will special summon 3 monsters, because Templar had only the ability to summon 2 monsters, because always one was occupying one of its markers, but this moves away, so you can get even more monsters from the grave, so it has synergy with existing cards as well. And the other card is When I First Met You. Yes, the icons keep on coming for this deck. So this is basically a searcher. You reveal a Cyber's monster with 2300 attack in your hand or extra deck, and then you add an Antagonist monster with the same attribute from your deck, and for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate monster effects because Cyber's monsters. That doesn't matter, and during the end phase, you take 2300 damage if you did not special summon the revealed monster, but you will. You are going to special summon it 99% of the time unless something terrible happens. So this card, along with Signet Mining, gives you 9 ways to go into your Wardcon combo, which is Achichi Antagonist. If you already have all the monsters you need, then you can go into Picari. The deck has Surge power that is so good right now because you do play all these different attributes in your extra deck anyway. So you need to play your Fire Phoenix in order to search your Achichi, you need to play your Light Dragon in order to search your Picari. You're going to play them now because maybe before you weren't playing Fire Phoenix, but now you're definitely going to, because you can search the best card in the deck. So you can have an engine that searches pretty much the entire deck. Picari is going to search all of the spell and traps. You can search your Idol Reborn, you can search anything you want, your Achichi, you can search all of your monsters. The deck has a lot of extenders. The deck has a super poly kind of card with I Love Fusion that you can use to summon Earth Golem. The deck has the tools to become a really good deck, and we have seen it that the OCG has actually managed to break this deck, and we have seen it win a lot of events. So I'm pretty sure that here we're going to make the deck even more powerful, because for some reason in the TCG we love combo a lot more than they do in the OCG. So we're going to find ways to make this deck even more broken. So I highly think that this deck might not, even if it might not become a tier 1 deck, it's very similar to how Prime Kids evolved, and I think it's going to follow a similar path. So be careful for this deck, do not sleep on this deck. This deck is going to be a really good deck. Right now the cards might become a lot more expensive than they are, especially when the support comes out, but if you're a fan of the deck and you want to play, don't worry. If you don't want to break the bank, they're going to get reprinted in the Megatins, so everything will be very affordable. Just focus on getting the cards from Lightning Overdrive and you'll be fine. So yeah, guys, I think that Lightning Overdrive is going to change the game. It's going to make it a lot more fun by adding a lot more decks in the metagame, or adding old meta decks back into the metagame that got butchered. So a set that like this has to be a good set. So I don't know what else is there to say about this set. Maybe you think there are other cards in the set that are really good. Maybe you think the Amazement cards are good, which they're actually fine. You can basically do a lot of stuff. We have also Trap Trick support. So maybe there are other decks that, but I didn't feel like mentioning them because it's basically a certain thing that these decks are not going to become tier 1, but these decks I mentioned right now have the potential of becoming tier 1. So this is what I want to talk about. If you want, we can talk about in the comments about other cards. If you think that maybe there's something else that could become tier 1, then of course, let let me know down in the comments below what you think might change aside from all the things that I mentioned here. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, guys, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and we'll see you next time.